Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. It was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, this is... Children, what's happening to your faces? You want some cuddle? Come on!
Yeah, why we need to pray every night? We know it's Halloween, but why we need to do this? Can we just play all around?
No, children. It's forbidden to play in this hour. It's for your own sake.
We should be careful.
Children, look! Do you want to hear a story?
Yes, yes, yes!
Come on. Long time ago, there was a man named Bert and his friend Dorai came into Lola Conching's house for vacation. There were two tias named Bashan and Patring. Dorai's tio Lindo and her cousins Tad, Joey, Ina, Elena, Nikki, and Damian. They were there for Holy Weeks. On Holy Thursday, Bert came. The house loomed over the street, massive. Windows gaped open like mouths. So, this would be summer for Bert. There were other houses nearby, but not as big and old as this one. As he stood outside the rusty iron gate, Dorai came running out of the heavy wooden door. It was almost sundown. "You're finally here. I've been waiting since morning." She kissed him on the cheek. The boss broke down and gave her a hug. She brought him inside the house. The basement was dark. A familiar scent filtered through his nose. It's old wood, remember? She had brought him to Ibahay Aklan a year ago for her Lola Conching's 19th birthday. They stayed for a couple of days. Dorai and Bert usually spend summer at beaches, but this time they made a deal. "I promise," she held up her hand. "We'll go to Boracay after. You just have to see how they spend Holy Week in my Lola Conching's town." "But I'm not even practicing Catholic," he protested. "Don't deny it, Bert Makareg." Dorai pointed him accusing finger at him. "Once I saw you lighting all the candles in church so that Rona would leave." Alright, I gave up. We'll go to your Lola Conching's house first, purify our souls during Holy Week, and burn them after in Boracay." The room was replete with old wooden heads of saints. Some had no eyes, but they looked real. He shivered a familiar feeling. In front of his bed was a cabinet with glass casing. It was empty. The whiff of camphor from the wooden heads made him dizzy and fell asleep soundly. Bert woke up to the sound of voices. A soft stream of morning light seeped through the gaze of the mosquito net. He hurriedly washed and dressed. Then he opened the door and stepped out of the room. There were people moving around, talking. Let's have breakfast," she tugged at his arm. "Everybody has eaten." The combination of dried fish, scrambled eggs, and fried rice sprinkled with chopped onion leaves made him very hungry. "Nobody here eats meat on Good Friday," Dorai explained as they sat down. "It's the belief." "Did Bert have a good sleep last night, Dorai?" Lola Conching asked as she walked into the dining room. She sat on the chair at the head of the table. It was uncanny how she could move with just a cane. She seemed to know every inch of space in her house. "Good morning," he greeted her. "Ah, there you are." Her head followed the sound of his voice. "Did you sleep well last night?" "Yes, I did." "You should. You will be doing many things today." Achoo! In a corner was the carriage, blocked. It was lined with leaves of silver. On the carriage was a casing whose sides were made of glass. Angels with dark faces adorned each of the upper four corners. The carriage looked ominous, like a hearse. Tio Lindo and Tia Patring came in. "Boys, let's do this together." Bert helped polish the carriage, shining the leaves of silver lining. "We're ready for the Santo Entero," one of the girls called out. Lola Conching was sitting by the altar when he got to the top of the stairs. "I like candles for the Santo Entero because it is most precious to us. It is our indulgencia. It protected us during the war." "You mean the Santo Entero has some kind of power?" His curiosity started to grow. "Yes, it does. It protects us from the evil of Good Fridays, aswang. You will see on Good Friday, when the moon rises, all windows are shut in houses except ours." "Do you believe in your Lola Conching stories about the Santo Entero?" Durai looked lost in thought. She groped for words. "I don't have any answers, Bert, but this is what I can tell you." Her eyes brightened up. "What I saw was the crowd surging toward the Santo Entero as it got to the door of the church. It was a mad scramble. Everybody wanted a piece of the Santo. They say its hair or any part of its clothing can be used as an amulet, a protection against evil spirits." Bert went to sleep. "Bert!" he heard Dorai's voice through his slumber. "It's time to get ready." On top of the carriage were Tio Lindo and Ted brandishing wooden canes like warriors. Everyone was trying to get near the Santo Entero. He was trapped. He couldn't get out from the sea of bodies. The wave threatened to crush him. He couldn't breathe. He was drowning. Some people had tears streaming down their faces, sobbing. Others screamed as Tio Lindo and Ted hit their hands with their wooden canes. "The hair!" someone shouted. "A strand of hair!" "No, don't!" He could no longer hear himself as he went down, pressed by the rush of wave. Suddenly, Tio Lindo and Ted were pulling him up. He slumped on the wooden top of the carriage. They jumped off the carriage. Sweat pasted his shirt onto his skin. He felt they had gone through a siege, but the carriage was intact. The glass remained unbroken. The leaves of silver lining still glistened. Everything was in place. The rest of the boys, Joey, Nikki, and Damian, volunteered to stay behind while they went home for dinner. "You were lucky. You didn't get crushed," said Ted. Bert didn't bother to say anything. In the haze of alcohol, he got out of the room and cautiously made his way down the stairs and out of the house. He went out into the street and walked to the church. In the dimness of the surroundings, he saw 4 men coming out of the church. They were carrying something wrapped in white sheets, like a dead man. It was the Santo Entero. When he got to his room, he closed his eyes and cascaded down into a labyrinth of darkness. Then he heard a flapping on wings. It flapped in the breeze blowing through his window. Whack, whack, whack. He bolted up, charged with a current of electricity around running through his veins. He struggled against the mesh of its case. Then he saw the Santo Entero. It stood inside the glass cabinet in front of his bed. He screamed. The shrillness shot through the stillness of San Jose Street. "Bert!" Dorai rushed in. He screamed again. She peeled the mosquito net away. Then he felt her hands, her arms holding close on him. He was drenched with sweat. Someone knocked on the door. He looked at the glass cabinet in front of his bed. It was empty. The Santo Entero was stolen, he breathlessly whispered to Dorai. "The what?" She barely heard him. "The Santo Entero," he punctuated each word. Dorai stood up and opened the door. Lola Conching entered the room. "The Santo Entero was stolen," he cried. "It was stolen." He grabbed Lola Conching and carried her in his arms as if she were a child. She weakly struggled against his strength. "Leave her alone," Dorai cried. The rest of the family encircled them like the crowd that earlier surged towards the Santo Entero. "No," he stared at them, and they all marched down into the darkness of the street, all the way to the church. Tia Patring offered him a candle. He took it. "Light all the candles, Bert," Dorai's voice quivered. Then he saw it. It was there. The Santo Entero glistened inside the glass casing of its carriage. Black Saturday, and now Easter Sunday. And the end. Oh, the writer of this story is Kevin Piamonte. He is an associate professor of humanities at UP Visayas. This British Council scholar at the University of Warwick, England, also directs theater productions and writes fiction. He lives with his 97-year-old grandmother, Socorro Fuentes Pison, the sister of national artist for music, Jovita Fuentes. Children? Oh, they fast asleep. Good night, children.